Tonight, Jeremy Corbyn barred from standing for Labour at the next election. MP for Islington North for 40 years, he was blocked after Sir Keir Starmer's motion was approved by the party's governing body.
Leadership in the end is about taking responsibility. Keir has taken responsibility. He continues to take responsibility. Jeremy has failed to do that, and that's why we made the decision we have today.
Also ahead, Prince Harry back at the High Court as he joins those taking on the publisher of the Daily Mail. The Londoners missing out on £30 million of government cash to help with energy bills. So why hasn't it been claimed and how can you get it? Plus,
we had flying saucers in my pub not so long ago, and then a frying pan, and she was just before the wife left, I tell you.
From pulling pints to performing puppets, London's favourite pub landlord joins us live in the studio. Good evening. He's been the MP for Islington North for 40 years, but today Jeremy Corbyn was officially blocked from running as a Labour candidate at the next general election. It's after a motion put forward by Labour leader Sir Keir Starmer was backed by the party's governing body. Mr Corbyn was suspended from the parliamentary party in 2020 over his response to a damning report criticising Labour's handling of anti-Semitism under his leadership. His only option now is to stand as an independent candidate. Here's our political correspondent Simon Harris.
They're both London MPs. They were both chosen to lead their party. But in the battle for the soul of the Labour Party, Sir Keir Starmer decided Jeremy Corbyn was no longer fit to be a Labour MP. And today, Labour's National Executive Committee rubber-stamped Starmer's veto.
This decision today is a clear demonstration that the Labour Party has changed, and under Keir's leadership we are a party that is proud of our commitment to NATO. We have transformed our relationship with business and we are tackling anti-Semitism in our party and pulling it out by the roots.
Corbyn's downfall arguably began in 2019 when he led Labour to its worst election defeat in more than 80 years. 10 months later, the party suspended the Islington North MP because of his response to a report criticising his handling of anti-Semitism.
The numbers have been exaggerated, in my view.
Corbyn lost the Labour whip and has been sitting as an independent MP ever since.
When the Equality and Human Rights Commission published their report, I think Jeremy should have accepted the report and apologised. He didn't do so, and we're seeing some of the consequences of that.
The Hackney MP Diane Abbott, a close friend of Corbyn, tweeted, "The decision to bar Jeremy Corbyn on the grounds he lost the 2019 election is ridiculously flimsy, without logic or precedent. On that basis, many other Labour leaders would also be barred." Many people in Islington North have only ever known a time when Jeremy Corbyn was their MP. He was first elected 40 years ago. In that time, he's seen 9 Prime Ministers come and go. On the Hornsey Lane estate, volunteers were preparing food parcels in the community centre. Corbyn is well known here and is popular.
I think he's a lovely man. He's really helped us and he's been very supportive to our community centre.
He's a good man. I always vote for him. So I'm not going to vote for nobody else if he's not running for Islington North.
What do you think of Labour's decision to say he can't stand as a candidate?
I think it's wrong. He's been a well-known candidate in the borough for a lot of years. So I don't think it's right.
But many members of London's Jewish community take a different view.
Frankly, Mr Corbyn never showed any contrition or took any real responsibility for what happened in the Labour Party in terms of the anti-Semitism flourishing and it becoming an unsafe space for Jewish people.
Tonight, Jeremy Corbyn described Labour's decision as a shameful attack on party democracy, party members and natural justice.
Simon, in the last half an hour, we've heard from Jeremy Corbyn. What's he saying?
Yes, everyone's waiting to see what his next move might be. Is he considering a possible legal challenge? Might he stand in Islington North as an independent candidate? He clearly thinks he has the support of local party members and that they should choose who their candidate is at the next election. Well, in his statement tonight, he says, "I will not be intimidated into silence. I have spent my life fighting for a fairer society for the people of Islington North, and I have no intention of stopping now." Make of that what you will.
We will. Simon, thank you. Next, Prince Harry and Baroness Doreen Lawrence embraced at the High Court today as their bid to sue the publisher of the Daily Mail continued. They are part of a group alongside the likes of Sir Elton John and Liz Hurley, who are accusing Associated Newspapers Limited of carrying out or commissioning unlawful information gathering. Rags Martell was in court.
A prince arriving at court again, walking past a glare of press photographers. Harry here for a second day in a case against tabloid intrusion into his private life. The Duke of Sussex among a group of 7 celebrity and high-profile claimants accusing the publisher of the Daily Mail of phone tapping and other illegal activities.
Good afternoon, Baroness Lawrence. Can I ask how you're feeling today?
Doreen Lawrence claims the newspaper hired private investigators to hack her phone and obtain information about her murdered son, Stephen. But this High Court case is just a preliminary hearing to decide if it should go any further. Day 2 was filled with legal argument on what evidence should be allowed in court if a trial did go ahead.
Throughout the day's hearing, Prince Harry listened attentively to his lawyers' submissions, writing down notes and conferring with his legal team. When they broke for lunch, Harry greeted Doreen Lawrence. They embraced warmly and spoke for several minutes.
Associated Newspapers, who publish the Daily Mail, is accused of using illegal reporting tactics against the celebrities like Elton John. But lawyers for the Mail say the entire case relies upon documents that were provided to the Leveson inquiry and are legally protected by confidentiality.
What do you hope to change through this court battle, Harry?
This preliminary hearing continues tomorrow. Rags Martell, ITV News, at the High Court.
In some other news, Michael Gove has asked for an urgent meeting with Kingspan to discuss their claim that they are willing to take financial responsibility for their role in the Grenfell tragedy. The Housing Secretary said he was appalled by the evidence heard in the inquiry about their reckless and deceptive behaviour. He's urged Kingspan, who made the flammable insulation on the tower, to use their record profits to identify and pay for remediation works. And the Mayor's announced an expanded bus network called the Superloop, which will make outer London boroughs better connected. It'll increase the frequency of existing routes in an attempt to mitigate difficulties caused by the expansion of the ULEZ scheme. The Conservatives have criticised the idea, calling it a microscopic level of investment. Now, it's one of the country's biggest food suppliers, responsible for creating some of the well-known brands on our supermarket shelves. But tonight, ITV News London has been told about the controversial inner workings of Pilgrims Food Masters after bosses there are alleged to have threatened to sack staff who failed to accept new working terms. Those terms include reducing sick pay, losing paid breaks and scrapping Diwali bonuses. Not a good look for a company operating in an area known as Little India. With more, here's Helen Keenan.
Inside a factory of one of the biggest food companies that supplies supermarket giants like Tesco and Sainsbury's, Pilgrims Food Masters is not only home to household names, it's also a place of discrimination, according to some of its workers. They have agreed to share their story with us. All 3 have worked at the factory for more than 20 years and say workers are now being threatened with a fire and then rehire on worse terms policy, losing paid breaks, reduced sick pay and longer working hours.
Childcare is very expensive, so they can't afford. I mean, they are not highly paid workers, so they can't afford childcare, I mean, for the extra hours.
They don't listen to anything, they need to numbers and their production.
Very difficult to manage because we have the children, family, so very difficult situation for us.
We're not saying that we can defend every benefit, but what we're saying is let's negotiate in a more peaceful manner.
Workers at the site are primarily of Indian heritage and many celebrate Diwali. Previously, they had been given a £45 bonus on the day, which this company now wants to scrap.
Do you feel discriminated against?
Yes, of course.
Now the company take from us this Diwali bonus and they're giving to the turkey for the Christmas time, turkey, but nobody eating turkey.
Pilgrims told us from this year they are looking at a seasonal gift that has no religious connection to be more inclusive. Turkeys have been provided in the past as well as Diwali gifts. They're now being replaced with a gift of the same monetary value. They went on to say, throughout the process we have been open and honest regarding the proposed changes, and while we recognise some changes will be difficult for our colleagues, our overarching objective is to protect jobs and retain our current valued workforce. Last week, around 100 workers went to Parliament to meet with the Shadow Employment Minister over the proposed contract changes and were supported by their local MP.
I will be writing to the employers to rethink about the situation, reconsider the future of the workforce. I will be putting an early day motion in the Parliament. I will be holding a Westminster Hall debate.
The GMB unions say many of those who work in this food packing factory actually rely on food banks. The new contracts would be another blow as they struggle to survive the cost of living crisis. Helen Keenan, ITV News.
£30 million of government cash that was made available to help with energy bills hasn't been claimed by Londoners. The energy vouchers were rolled out last year and are sent to customers to top up their electricity meter with a key or card. But in some boroughs in the capital, just half of the vouchers have been cashed in. Anila Dami is here to explain more. And Anila, that's a lot of money going unclaimed, isn't it?
It is, and as you say, it affects those people who top up their energy with a prepayment card, who are missing out on £400 towards their energy bills because they're not claiming these vouchers. It doesn't affect people who have direct debits because their payment is already deducted automatically on their monthly bills. Just to remind you, this is part of the energy bill support scheme announced by the government to help people with the rising energy costs and their bills, giving each household in Britain up to £400 over 6 months. Since the scheme began in December in London, some boroughs haven't claimed up to over £1 million. So I'm going to take you through some of the statistics. In the city of London and Westminster, almost half of the vouchers that have been sent out haven't been claimed. That equates to more than £400,000 of unclaimed cash. In Brent, over 45% have gone unclaimed, more than £1 million. And the highest figure is in Tottenham. We're looking at £1.3 million of unclaimed free energy credit.
Goodness me, that is a lot of money, isn't it? So why are people not claiming it?
Well, the Post Office, which is one of the top-up points, told us that they think it's a lack of awareness, that maybe letters have gone to landlords. They paired up with Citizens Advice today, who also are helping raise awareness about this.
Supporting a lot of people who are struggling to pay for food, for heating, for all of these essentials. And we basically trying to reach as many people. And if you're struggling with paying for your energy bills, if you're struggling with debt, if you're struggling with rent, anything like that, we just want to make sure that people know that contact us and we'll do our best to help with all of those issues.
Well, they want to remind people on prepaid meters to check their post, check their text messages where they'll get those vouchers. If they don't redeem the voucher in time, they don't lose out on the money until the 30th of June. And we do have more information on our website.
Yeah, Londoners get claiming. Anila, thank you. Still to come on this wet and windy day, we're talking about 200 years of fog.
Welcome to the big smog, literally. We're here at the Charles Dickens Museum. They're going back in time to the old pea soupers.
But first, a farm in South London that provided food parcels for their local community in the pandemic say now they're the ones who need help. The cost of living crisis means Sutton Community Farm's bills have shot up while the number of customers buying their organic produce has dwindled. If they can't raise £50,000 and fast, they could be forced to close their doors, as Antoine Allen reports.
Save our farm. In Sutton, volunteers are trying to raise more than just crops.
A really good place to be. It makes me feel really good. It's something I really strongly believe in.
The Sutton Community Farm has provided locally grown fruit and veg for 13 years. But the cost of living crisis has seen farming and delivery costs rise, whilst orders of food boxes fall.
Find another big one.
Now the farm workers and its 70 volunteers are asking the public for donations.
Maggie, if this farm doesn't survive, how will you feel?
I'd be really disappointed. I think that what it brings to the community is really invaluable, just bringing so many people in to help and also serving the community. They have so many veg boxes that go out each week.
In March, soaring food prices in shops reached its highest level in at least 18 years. The British Retail Consortium has said poor harvests in Europe and Africa have contributed to inflation and empty shelves in British stores. Yet Sutton Community Farm has plenty of peppers to spare, but it's still facing an uncertain future. At the height of the pandemic and the lockdown, it was the food provided by community farms like this that helped to fill the gap left by empty shelves at the big superstores. But when it comes to Sutton Community Farm, they provide more than simply food boxes. It's a place where volunteers can come and feel like they too can grow food, but also make friends. Now, Gay's been coming here for 13 years. Why is this farm so important?
It's really become a great source of fresh and organic local food for people both in this area and really extending up South London.
The farm has a crowdfunding target of £50,000. The staff here say they've already received tens of thousands of pounds from the community. Sonia, why do you need the £50,000?
Over the past year, the cost of living crisis has really started to hit us quite hard as our farm customers go elsewhere, as well as rising costs associating with food production. And the combination of that means that we are asking our wider community to help us in our time of need.
Like a sturdy crop, even in rainy times, this farm says it will try to find a way to survive. But if they reach their crowdfunding target, the farm's future will be a lot brighter. Antoine Allen, ITV News.
Now it pours into every chink and keyhole of Scrooge's office in A Christmas Carol, and in Bleak House it lowers down from chimney pots in a soft black drizzle. Fog is a prominent feature in many of Charles Dickens' novels, and now it's the focus of a new exhibition looking at the writer's fascination with our dirty city and the centuries-old battle against pollution. Sally Williams reports.
Where you find Charles Dickens, fog or smog is never far behind. In fact, it's all around. In his books, Charles Dickens describes London as a city in the clouds, the poisonous smoke from burning coal like London ivy. And in his smokiest, foggiest book, Bleak House, he says smoke lowering down from chimney pots, making a soft black drizzle with flakes of soot in it as big as snowflakes. The words, the pictures said it all. London had a massive pollution problem in Dickens' times, very much part of his and his readers' lives.
For Dickens, it was a nuisance, but also a great inspiration. So it travels into a lot of his works and a lot of his stories, so much so it can almost become a character itself. The Charles Dickens Museum, where he lived and wrote, looks at that inspiration, but also the dangers of such pollution.
But the smoky fog wasn't just a problem outside, it got everywhere, inside too.
Inside the home, they would have been burning coal. We know that actually a Victorian servant wouldn't have put the tablecloth out until right before dinner, because if they did beforehand, it would have been filthy by the time the family would have sat down.
The great fog of London has been the chief topic in the south of Britain.
A century later, the Great Smog of 1952 hit London, and it's thought it could have killed as many as 12,000 people. It did eventually lead to change, but London still has a problem.
Today, of course, air pollution is much better, but we still think that around 4,000 Londoners are dying each year because of the effects of air pollution. And also it's affecting children as their lungs grow, asthma, COPD, and even dementia in the elderly.
At times, Dickens used the smoke to his advantage, allowing Martin Chuzzlewit to steal kisses in the fog. But he also admitted in a letter, London is vile. He may have written fiction, but there was some truth in his tales. Sally Williams, ITV News, Bloomsbury.
Now, my guest tonight is London's most famous fictional pub landlord, but Al Murray is taking some time away from pulling pints to write a West End show. Spitting Image, the musical, is exactly what it says on the tin, an all-singing, all-dancing version of the 1980s TV classic. Before we chat to Al about all of that, let's just get a reminder of his most famous character.
This glass was manufactured in France. Christ, the lager therein was brewed in Germany. Why would we bother fighting them twice? Put the two together, what you got? A Great British Pint. You see?
Oh, I love it. It never gets old. Al Murray, thank you so much.
That's kind of you.
For coming to talk to us. Listen, I've got to say, for looking at you there, looking at you now, I barely recognise you. Because you've got hair.
Yes,
and I know you've been talking about it all day, but it's a shocker.
I have to cut it off to be the pub landlord, and I've not had any stand-up to do for a few months, so I let it grow out.
Wow.
Yeah. I really hate cutting it off as well.
It's a full-on commitment, isn't it, then, when you're doing pub landlord?
It certainly is, yeah. Out come the clippers,
Out come the clippers. Listen, we're going to get back to pub landlord in a moment, but first of all, we've got to talk about Spitting Image.
Yeah.
Because you are one of the co-writers on a musical version of the 80s show.
Yeah.
It sounds fantastic, and it's got, like, an amazing cast.
Well, we have a cast of 109 people in it. I think, you know, there's Tom Cruise, Rishi Sunak, Tyson Fury, Greta Thunberg, Angela Rayner, all of the royal family feature to various extents. And it's been RuPaul, it's been the most amazing thing to work on. Absolutely incredible.
How's it gone down with the audience when it comes to puppets on stage?
Oh, they just love it. The puppets, these grotesques, they're so powerful when you see them in the flesh. And there's a moment right at the start of the show where Prince Harry comes on and with Meghan, and they start talking, and it's the fact, basically, we've got them saying kind of the things you'd want to hear them say, and the energy of that is really, really exciting.
Yeah, I mean, you said they were grotesques, your words. But when it comes to, and we all remember the original show back in the 80s, early 90s, when it comes to political satire, well, the politicians get hammering, don't they?
Yeah.
And there's so much material.
Well, yeah, I mean, the thing is we've had to rewrite this show quite a lot in the last year to keep up with events, and I'll admit we never had a Kwasi Kwarteng puppet. He wasn't in long enough. But you know, all the major figures of the last couple of years' politics.
I mean, your
really
favourites, you've got Boris, you've got Trump.
Yeah.
I mean, look, endless material. I just love the hair here.
Yeah,
back to hair.
And Matt Ford, who does the impressions of Boris and Trump, is absolutely amazing. So it's like seeing them there in front of you. And the puppets are the size of people. You don't really get that impression from the TV. I mean, the Boris puppet is bigger than I am.
Blimey.
Yeah.
Bigger than Boris. I want to talk to you about the pub landlord.
Yes.
Because while you're doing all this, and this opens in May, doesn't it, this show?
Yeah.
And it's called, what's it called? The Idiots Assemble.
Idiots
What a
Assemble.
wonderful title.
Yeah.
But you are back as pub landlord.
Yes.
You've got a big show at the Royal Albert Hall, haven't you?
Yeah, Royal Albert Hall on May the 12th. I will have cut the hair. I can make that promise. I'm sorry. But yes, he's coming back, and it's very exciting to play somewhere basically as sort of shiny and special as the Royal Albert Hall.
As shiny as your head will be.
It will be as shiny as my bonds.
And one final question. I know you're a bit of a history buff, and you are a fictional pub landlord. Your favourite pub in London, if you can tell me. Can you pick one?
Oh, well, that would have to be, I think, the George IV on the Chiswick High Road, which is one of my locals that I absolutely love.
Well, there you go. You picked one. What a wonderful plug for them. Al Murray, thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you. All right, it's been a pretty miserable day out there, hasn't it? What's the forecast for tomorrow? Here's James with the weather.
ITV London weekday weather is sponsored by Octopus Electric Vehicles. Car, charger and energy.
Hello there, good evening. It's been a bit of a damp day today. There's certainly more damp weather over the next few days. Once we get rid of today's rain, there's more showery rain for Wednesday into Thursday. This could be a little bit of a troublemaker. It may well end up being named as a storm by the French Met Office. It's set to give us strong winds and a lot of rain through Thursday into Friday. Unfortunately, it's going to lurk into Saturday too, turning a little more showery. As far as this evening goes, well, we sort of lost the rain now. We don't lose the cloud. It looks as though it's going to be a rather grey night. This mist on the chart is actually just indicating low cloud. I don't think it's going to reach the deck, so I don't think we'll see too many issues with visibility. But it is going to be a mild night because of that cloud. Temperatures dropping down to about 7 or 8 Celsius. Tomorrow then, grey start to the day, bit murky. Expect to see a few showers during the early part of the day. Some of them could turn out to be a bit sharp. It's also going to get a little bit blustery as they pass through, but it is drawing up mild air, this breeze, so looking at highs of 13 to 15 Celsius. That's already 2 or 3 Celsius up on where we'd expect at this time of year, and it's set to get even milder than that. So if we look at the Thursday chart, again a bit breezy, quite a few isobars there, drawing up that mild air from the southwest. a lot more in the way of brighter spells, so that's where your heat's going to come from too, with highs of around 17 Celsius. Unfortunately, it's going to be a hit and miss showery day, so 1 or 2 sharp ones potentially mixed in. And then Friday into Saturday, this system is going to give us some more strong winds, an awful lot of wet weather, but it will remain on the mild side.
ITV London Weekday Weather is sponsored by Octopus Electric Vehicles.
And finally tonight, too, the singer left speechless after he was plucked from the front row of the O2 Arena to perform with none other than Ed Sheeran. Sangeeta Kandola now on the story of how a team came together.
Can you just get me another mic on a stand? Luke, say, yeah.
This is the moment Ed Sheeran recognised a superfan in the front row and pulled him on stage at the O2 in front of 20,000 people.
Hello. White lips, pale face, breathing in snowflakes.
Luke Gittin, who has been making cover versions of Ed's and other artists' songs on YouTube, made sure he brought his A-game with him as he took in the momentous impromptu moment, singing Sheeran's The A-Team alongside the superstar.
They say she's in the class 18 with my eyes closed.
Just a few hours earlier, Luke had been in the queue for the concert at the O2, recording a cover version of Ed Sheeran's new track, Eyes Closed. He uploaded it to YouTube, but didn't know Ed had seen it, spotted him in the crowd, and decided to cut him a break. Ed Sheeran says he sees himself in Luke, who's doing just what he did, making cover versions of famous songs from famous artists,
Wanna be that guy.
in the hope his talent and original material gets noticed. In the meantime, Luke says his Sheeran on-stage experience was so amazing, it's inspired him to keep going and keep writing.
Everyone make some noise for Luke.
Sangeeta Kandola, ITV News.
And you can see a full interview with Luke on the ITV Evening News up next with Mary. But from me and the rest of the London team, bye-bye. Thank you for watching.